All right, thanks so much for being here, everyone. It's been a couple of months, but glad to see everyone here. Um, Luke, I'm going to pick on you first because I just got an update from you because you were in Ukraine recently. So I'm going to have you share what you were out doing and checking on people and your updates from what you're seeing on the ground there.
Yeah, so I was just there, right? I guess that was 2 weeks ago. I went with our partners from Faith Church Aid, Peter out of Budapest. We drove down to Kiev and some of the surrounding villages, Hostomel, Irpin, and Bucha. And we did a lot of food distributions as well as toys and hygiene products to various widows that have remained in that community since the Russians came and surrounded Kiev back in February of 21 or 22. And then we went to an orphanage as well in downtown Kiev that we've been partnering with. We sent the Vector Logistics Christmas cards and all of that, the children stuff to them. And so it was really good to see all of those people as well as our local partners on the ground in that. Um, this was my first time back since December of last year, and honestly, the biggest thing was the difference in opinion or in sentiment of December. Obviously, it's cold. They're dealing with the winter. At that time, the Russian rockets had been really bombarding, especially the electrical grid. So this time around, it's been much more of this is the new reality. Life is just kind of, we're going on. It's a steady pace. Obviously, life is still tough and the fighting keeps going, but we're kind of hunkered down and in it for the long haul. So that's very much the Ukrainian opinion. Talking with the partners as well as some of our other contacts, the biggest issue is always with all of this sort of relief funding. And I'm personally concerned, especially as we reach the end of this year. A lot of organizations had planned, all right, we're going to commit to Ukraine for the 2023. We're going to keep doing it. We're going to keep that. But I think a lot of operations are going to begin shutting down as 2024 comes around. So those are going to be the biggest challenges because it's just fatigue within the headlines. There are other big things happening all across the world. But from what it looks like, as far as our operations go, it's still going strong. We obviously funding is a challenge for us too, but we're not giving up just yet.
Absolutely. How many people do you still have? Is it just your partners you have on the ground, or do you have serve staff and remaining in Ukraine as well?
We do not have any serve staff in Ukraine. We just are working with partners. Some of those are with official NGOs, others are not. And we'll just we'll split either the cost or we'll help support them. Our best guy, Jolty, he lives in Mukachevo, right on the border with Hungary. And he's going into Kharkiv, Kherson every month to every 2 weeks. He'll be leaving on the 23rd to go to Kherson.
Okay, awesome.
Mhm.
And I should have asked. So Daria is in Lviv. Stan, they're both with Real Trucking. Can you go ahead and just give a quick overview of Serve so they're aware of what you guys do as well?
Sure.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Good to meet you all. First time we are here and kind of getting the idea how this whole thing works. I'm originally from Ukraine. I moved to United States when I was 2021, somewhere there, about 16 and some years ago. Living in Chicago right now. Been with the company with Real for a little over 10 years. I'm the president of the company now. Went through a bunch of different roles. And yeah, about four. Daria, you'll be able to tell more on that side. We open office in Lviv. They extend operations pretty much in all the departments, and we recently started moving loads in Ukraine, in Europe. So yeah, hopefully we'll be able to fit in well and bring value to the table. Daria, if you want to share some more.
Yeah, actually, we just started working on this project not really long ago, just a couple months. So at the moment, we have only one person who is dedicated exactly to international logistics. but we plan to move forward, and we plan on like making more international logistics, international loads. Yeah, also we are looking for another person to join our team. Yeah, in general, that's it. So yeah.
And
Go ahead.
if you mind me asking, could you guys share a little bit more about the whole idea and how it works, so we can better understand how we can fit in and be
Absolutely.
helpful?
Yes, absolutely. Well, first, Daria, let me ask you, you're in Lviv. Tell us how you are, how your friends and family are, what's going on there.
So I'm fine. Yeah.
Okay.
In general, I'm fine. My family is okay. My father, he is near Bakhmut right now. So yeah, but he's fine. He's fine, also fine. Yeah. Um, in general, I'm based in Lviv. Our office is in Lviv as well. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you. So yeah, the goal of these calls, which have been going on just shortly after we started, shortly after the war broke out, is just to get together, share our knowledge, share who needs resources, who has resources. Vicky with Matter, she'll talk in just a second, but they have been an incredible resource for providing mixed medical supplies. I'll ask Luke to give a little more spiel about Serve in just a second, but these calls were more of just a way people were doing lots of things on their own and trying to coordinate. So we were like, let's just get everybody to show up at once and talk about it. And so sometimes it's everything from like I said, resource sharing, or somebody who has this, or what are you seeing on the ground? What's needed? How can we get it there? And then sometimes it's more of just a status update. So it's really just allowing anybody involved with Ukraine efforts to show up and talk about what they're doing, what they need, how they can help, and just being able to connect people. And so obviously, as a logistics company, we've certainly moved aid and been part of it from that stance, but this is more about the ability to just connect people so that people can work together to get more resources there than they can on their own.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Luke, let's go back to you for just a second. Will you kind of explain Serve and all the awesomeness that you guys have been doing for many years?
Yeah. All right, everyone. My name is Luke Reagan, and I've been working for an NGO called Serve International. We're based out of Atlanta, and we've been partnering with Vector for quite a while now. I manage our Middle East project as well as all of our disaster relief. And so since the war began, we've been doing operations into Ukraine with several partner groups, both inside and outside of the country. Most of our work involves trying to find the easiest way to get in to the most difficult spots as quickly as possible. So we've spent a lot of time, usually we focus on food relief. And so most of that will involve buying food locally or as close to the affected area as possible. For our Ukraine operations, we buy it in Hungary and then drive it across the border with our partners there. We have taken shipping containers in the past. We've done blanket distributions with Vector and all of that. And especially for things that cannot be found nearby, shipping is vital. So that's kind of what we're up to. Yeah, and it's been a wonderful partnership and great to meet the rest of y'all.
Yeah, Serve is actually our longest nonprofit partnership. It's been almost a decade at this point. So I think we're maybe their longest corporate partner as well. But for every container that the US team ships, then a portion of those proceeds go back to helping Serve as well, and especially in their Kenya work. So yeah, we're big fans of them, and now they've expanded so much in the last couple of years. So they're all over the place, and it's amazing to see with such a small team as well. It is hard to pin Luke down on which time zone and country he's in at any given point. All right, let's hear about Matter and what's happening there.
Hi, everybody. I think you guys, most of you know who I am. I'm Vicki Bachman, and I'm the VP of Business Partnerships here at Matter. So without being too redundant, we are just very quickly an overview. Matter does a lot of different things and impacts outside of the medical area, but for our purposes with Vector, we are a medical repurposing nonprofit, and we bring in excess and expired supplies and equipment from hospitals and manufacturers from around the country. And we bring in about 50 to 100 pallets a week, and we sort through them, and then we repurpose them through a variety of channels. And one of the things that I am fortunate to be able to do is have relationships with you all and other organizations around the US to redonate the things that we don't need. And so we are left with sometimes full bulk pallets of supplies that are in date, some are expired, but all unused, unopened, really good, usable medical supplies. And then also we have full pallets of mixed medical supplies that are non-inventoried, also a mixture of expired and non-expired. So in recent months, we have worked very closely with UA Resistance in Chicago on the South Side. We have probably contributed, I don't know, 250 plus pallets of mixed supplies to them. And they're primarily collecting donations of emergency vehicles, fire trucks, and ambulances, and they're taking our supplies and they're filling up all the corners of those vehicles so that they are completely full before they ship them overseas. So that's been a really nice partnership for us this year. And then also most recently, we sent a container of supplies to Ukraine via Yarrow. And I believe he used Airlink as their partner in providing, I'm pretty sure it was free. They provided shipping for them, Airlink shipping, so out of Chicago, of a container of a variety of supplies for him. So yeah, if anybody is interested in learning more about what we can, we are lighter than we typically are on supplies, but what I usually do when we're in that status is just keep a waiting list, and would just reach out to you when we have some things available, and we can make arrangements to get them to you.
Perfect. And I know sometimes you're able to, of course, we've mostly dealt with the mixed medical supplies, but you are able to take like, hey, we're looking for this specific item sort of request that you can keep your eye out for too. Isn't that correct?
Yes, we can try to do that for you.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's where really the bulk supplies come in place, where you can receive an entire pallet of one thing. And, you know, once we establish a relationship, I can let you know what we've got. It's a constantly changing inventory. We move things in and out all the time. So it's just a matter of keeping open communication and us letting you know what we've got and seeing if it's something that you need.
Perfect. Thanks.
That tends to be easier for some partners to be able to get them across the border so that you can more specifically define what's in them.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Especially if you don't have the volunteer groups, a volunteer core available to be able to sort through them and then specify what is in those pallets.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Mark, back to you. Explain a little bit about who you are and what you do, and then what's kind of what you've been working on lately.
Sure. Okay, so my name is Mark Forrester. I'm the owner and the managing director of Red Source. We are a supply company. We supply all types of relief type equipment and aid supplies to NGOs. We're not a foundation or a charity or that kind of thing. We are a for-profit business. However, we are very dedicated to supporting the NGOs as much as we can. We've provided items all over Africa to various NGOs working on the ground there. We've in 2021, when the government in Afghanistan collapsed in August of 2021, we were actually on the ground in Kabul and remained on the ground and maintained supply of food and blankets and humanitarian aid at a time when all of the NGOs literally had to leave Kabul for security reasons. When the Taliban came in, obviously, nobody knew how they were going to react, how Westerners were going to be treated. So there was obviously the mass evacuation, which we all saw on the news, of course. But we managed to hang on in there for about 3 or 4 months and maintain the deliveries of that aid using local trucks, local supply, but funded by the NGOs that essentially we were originally supplying from outside in. So it almost went like a flip. They came out, we went in, and they were funding us to do the deliveries on their behalf, which we did. That then, of course, became slightly untenable working in Afghanistan once the Taliban got a bit of a hold on things. So we kind of got up to about January, came out of Afghanistan in January, and then of course within weeks there was the invasion in Ukraine, and we immediately started getting requests and requirements for assistance and supply, because we do specialize in getting stuff moving quite quickly into Ukraine. Initially, we were very involved from the beginning in supplying IFAKs, which is the first aid kits used by the military and the medics and the reserves at the time. There was a massive demand for that. We have been supplying continually since the first or the second month of the conflict, tens of thousands of IFAKs, tens of thousands, like, thousands every month. We're just getting repeat orders, and there's no sign of that abating, which is, it tells you the situation in itself, doesn't it? The amount of injuries that are being inflicted and the demand for IFAKs. We've supplied every item that is required for furnishing and equipping IDP centres, which are essentially the centres that are made out of community centres or village halls, to make them livable accommodation, if you like, for families that didn't want to leave Ukraine but hung on as long as they possibly could within the country, and places like Mariupol and in the early days and places like that literally couldn't hang on any longer, but didn't want to actually leave. They just relocated to another part of the country. So we were working with the local mayors and the councils, if you like, of the towns and villages to repurpose dormitories and things like that. And we supplied every single item that we possibly could: furniture, all the electrical appliances, all the operational supplies, bed linen, hygiene products, and everything to go in them. And we've done dozens of those. We've also supplied, as I think Luke mentioned, last year, there was the devastating attacks on the grid, on the power, the utilities, during, as the winter kicked in, which I'm sure going to see again in the coming weeks and the next month or so. So we were supplying hundreds and hundreds of generators at the time, which was then followed by the power packs, the UPS battery packs. We've put hundreds and hundreds of those in, which we are now preparing again, in case there's ready for that surge of requirements that inevitably will come once the cold weather kicks in and the grid starts going down again. Water filtration equipment as well, handheld water filtration equipment, as well as modular big units that basically turn river water and melted snow and whatever they can get their hands on into perfectly clear drinking water. We've got we are now the authorized supplier of authorized distributor, of a French manufacturer of water filtration equipment. We have opened, we are registered as a business in Kyiv now. We did that back in March, April time. That has made us extremely busy. We've sort of moved not away from the humanitarian, because we're certainly still involved in that side of the business, but we've got more and more involved in the stability operations side of things, which is essentially IOM, part of the UN. IOM are very involved in that side of things. It's the technical assistance rather than the humanitarian aid provision. In about a month ago, 3 or 4 weeks ago, we were at a conference in Poland, in Warsaw, which was the ISOA conference, which is the International Stability Operations Association, where a lot of the major, what we call primes, were guest speakers and sponsors of the event. It was an excellent event, actually, where there were NATO, American forces, the EU, were all there, mixing with everybody and it was totally dedicated to the support of Ukraine, this conference, totally dedicated. And it was a coming together. It was almost like this, a coming together of all these companies that were destined to try and determine, should I say, to try and do as much as they possibly can to support the cause and the Ukraine, the battle in Ukraine. What developed from that for us actually was there are a lot of American support companies that, because of the policies of the government at the moment, the US government, they really want to sort of steer clear of putting boots on the ground, so that there's all this American equipment, hardware, as we well know, it's very well publicized, as well as obviously, almost like a zoo of equipment that's been poured into Ukraine from all over the world. All the allies have supplied tanks and armored cars and ambulances and that kind of thing, and all the artillery. All of this equipment actually needs support, and everybody is literally at the border waiting to come in. Predominantly, a lot of them are in Poland, obviously. What we found was that because we are registered in Ukraine as a registered business, and a business that we're in, very interested in partnering with us, so that we would be their conduit, if you like, or their boots on the ground to enable us to do the enabling works for them before they inevitably come in. And for sure, it's going to happen at some point. There's going to be a mass movement into Ukraine at some point. But yeah, so we're continuing to supply there. Crikey, it's got to be more than a year ago now. I was dealing with Maureen, who's not on this call, I don't think, today, is she? Maureen and I connected when I was in Poland on another trip to establish supply chain. It was me that actually connected her with, she was trying to find an NGO that would receive the containers of medical supplies, which might be something to do with you, Vicky. I'm not really sure. It kind of seems to fit, but there was a container of all these medical supplies that they needed to bring in, but they needed somebody authentic to receive them and make sure they weren't going to get sold into the market, and made sure they got to where they needed to be. So I introduced Maureen to Copernicus, who you may know. I mean, it may be something that's there, but that just shows how the when you bring the minds together of the different companies, how without even realizing it, all of a sudden it's like somebody knows somebody that you actually need, or I'm in a place where I can go and look for you, and that kind of thing. An excellent example actually of this group, Yarrow, who's not on this call today, he and I have connected quite a lot since the WhatsApp group started, and we've swapped contacts. We're communicating almost on a daily basis since the beginning of the WhatsApp group, and I am now connected with his brother, who is in Ukraine, who is actually now one of my key suppliers of the the equipment from the construction side of things for the rebuild and the renovations that are taking place all over the place, of course. So we're working with his brother's company, which is a company called Atlant. They're quite a large supplier and contractor service provider that we are working with now. Now that we would never have known about Atlant and Stanislav, who's Yaro's brother, had it not been for the setting up of the WhatsApp and you know this group that's been run by Vector for since the beginning of the conflict, I would imagine, maybe even longer. I don't know for other things, but I remember getting invited in way back, right at the very beginning. So it really does work, guys, and I know that there's been a bit of a downturn, as we all know, that you know it kind of lost. It felt like it was losing its momentum, but the need for this group never went away. The need was always here, and you know, as the need grows, it will pick up again, and we'll end up with 20 or 30 people again on these video calls. But it really does work, and kudos to you guys for really, you know, you could have wound it down, and you know, but you didn't, and you kept it going, and you've introduced new ways of communicating as well as these video calls, and it works. It's very useful. Keep it going. Keep it going, guys. It really is. It works.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to say. And thank you for all of your participation and help as well. It has been an awesome group to coordinate with and see how everybody's working and how everybody can, more importantly, work together. So it's been great. So so you don't know, a couple others may know. So Marina's actually not with Vector anymore. Her husband, for those of you who know, she's in the military, or her husband is in the military. So they've been transferred to Paris for a year. So she decided to take time, be with her kids, explore the city. So if anybody happens to be in Paris, she would love to meet up and have coffee. And I hope to get there at some point as well. In fact, the whole Vector team is like, how about a retreat? So she's doing great. I still talk to her all the time, but they're living it up there. And we're really excited that she has the opportunity to do something like that. And her husband is in school there. And so she's being mom and hands-on and taking care of the kids and the pet and everything else that went over there with them. So she's got her hands full. So yeah, we're excited about that. And she's still in touch all the time. She's like, how's the Ukraine group going? How's everybody doing? And then she still talks to a lot of people as well. So she's still very much a part of the initiative from that standpoint. Well, before we move on for any other introductions and things like that, are there any questions for anybody who's talked so far about what they're doing or what they need or how they can connect or help or anything like that?
I think I'll reach out afterwards directly for the contact information, and then we'll connect offline. So
absolutely. Yep. And we have, of course, the WhatsApp group. If anybody wants to, I put people's websites in the chat, but if anybody wants to throw their email in there, then please feel free to do that as well. Fred, it's good to see you. How's it going?
Doing well, doing well. Good to be back. Had quite an eventful trip to Ukraine early in the year. Had hoped to be back this month.
Okay.
I do ask for prayers for people, and in all honesty, I'm going to ask for prayers for my wife. She was diagnosed with breast cancer and is going through mastectomy on All Saints Day, November 1st. So prayers are requested. So I won't be going this month as planned. We have pivoted. One of the things that really struck me, and it started on the train ride going in. I was sitting next to a woman, and she said, you know, I was outside the country. Her family is from Bucha, and she said, I was outside the country working in Germany when this whole thing started. Her family home was bombed to the ground, and her parents are living in Kyiv. And she says, I have friends who have been raped. I have friends who have been murdered, and I have friends who have lost their kids. And she said, I'm lucky in that being in Germany, I had access to mental health care that most people in Ukraine don't have. And that sent me on kind of a path to looking into that. And so we are partnering with another NGO. And for everybody on the call, we we actually have a charitable foundation in Ukraine. We have a presence there, a business, if you will, but it's a charitable business. We're partnering with a Swiss NGO to stand up child safe spaces in schools. And it's a whole program that it includes the physical location of the school. So I may be trying to reach out to the Red Source One guy, Mark, I guess it was, in terms of that. But a lot of these kids are at risk. They've witnessed just insane amount of stuff, and so it includes setting up a place in the school that's a safe space, all the equipment in the room, all the equipment that's required for that. And then it also, more importantly, in my mind, involves the training of teachers to recognize from a psychological mental health standpoint those at greatest risk, if you will. And then it provides counseling care. Some of it's group. Kids react to things differently, and sitting down and talking about stuff isn't always the best way to get to kids, if you will. But it involves training the teachers and then using the teachers as a front line of triage, if you will, because the resources for mental health support in Ukraine are so limited, to provide a broad level of care where needed, but then identify the most at risk children, and then work with those kids. So it involves all of the training for that, the case management, the mental health support, mental health care. A lot of it's game based. A lot of it's stuff to get kids to begin expressing what they're experiencing, and doing it in ways that are not aggressive, because a lot of the way or regressing, if you will. There are really two problems. One is when the kids are expressing their grief and trauma, it can be very aggressive, and it's often aimed at other kids. We've all been in school. We know how that can be. And it's magnified. So they really try to get activities that are non-aggressive, but community, I mean with other kids, so that they're all expressing what they're going through. The other side of it is to keep the kids from withdrawing, if you will, because another part of the problem has been the more a child withdraws, not only are they falling behind in school and other things, but they're more at risk for trafficking. And that's another part of this, is to try to identify those children at greatest risk, again, who are becoming more and more withdrawn, and making sure they're being pulled back into an environment where they're not at risk for trafficking.
Right.
And obviously we're talking about, trafficking to Russia, unfortunately. So that's kind of that. I saw that and I thought, yeah, I actually asked a number of NGOs that I talked to over there, and they said, we have a lot of coats, and we have a lot of blankets, and a lot of that stuff's in the in the country, but we don't have this. And so that's kind of what we're doing.
Sounds like a very worthy pivot for sure.
Yeah.
Very needed.
So,
how are you connecting with schools? Are you just reaching out one-on-one, or do you have a network, or how is that working?
we have a network of schools, and this is in coordination with the Ukrainian government.
Okay.
And the mental health support is, in many instances, it's voluntary, but it's all within the WHO's guidelines. It's all an approved program, both by WHO and by the government of Ukraine. And so that's how we do it. We're working mostly. You can only get so close to some places, as people on this call know, so we're trying to aim at the largest schools with the greatest amount of need, if you will, as opposed to, and apparently some of the kids are still going to school, but they're going remotely, if you will. So another way to try to reach out to them. So yes, we do have a list of schools. Our model really is to link donors and donor groups here in the United States to actually sponsor a school, and literally build it out. We buy all the stuff, we build it out, we set up the program, and then the goal is that I and three of our other members here will be going into, I'm a psychologist by training, I'm a pilot by profession, but actually be kind of the conduit between the donor groups, whether it be churches or companies or affinity groups here and the school, so that the donors here know this is our school, because setting it up is one level of resources necessary to do it. There's also an ongoing, replacing equipment that's either consumed or needs to be repaired, and that would be out years, if you will. And so our goal is 20 schools this year, which is or this next calendar year, which is doable, and then taking those 20 and adding 20 and keeping the 20 that are going in the out years. So
that's awesome. Luke, sounds like that may be a good fit for the school hotel. I don't know what to call it that you work out of, that your team helps with.
Yeah. So
I was thinking the exact same thing. So I'll be reaching out to you after this meeting.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's good.
Fantastic. Fred, do you have a flyer or a presentation or anything that
I will send that to you? Yep.
Okay. Yep. Perfect. I'll send it out in the email.
I want to echo what Mark, I think it was, who said this. Christy, I was a proponent of don't let this thing drop. That. You guys have done an awesome job, and were it not for you, a lot of this would not be coordinated the way it has been. We did get our stuff into Ukraine. We got it into Ukraine because of this group and connections that we made here. And I cannot, there is not enough to be said that I can say to say thank you. And we appreciate, and you and Vector have made a difference in your bringing people together and bringing people together. So thank you very much. And again, prayers for my wife, please.
Yes. Thank you for letting us know about that. Oksana, are you in a place where you can speak?
I'm so happy that I made this time on this call. Every time I register, hoping to get on, and I like something goes wrong with kids is really hard. But I'm happy to be here today. And yes, I will start confirming the last sentence. Thank you for doing this. Don't give it up. At least once a month is still enough. At least we get to meet. We get to hear what are new options, who has what, who have done what. Maybe whenever some news comes, we can bring them here. Same with the chat. I always know that if I have something or if I know somebody, I can always drop it, because all these connections that really make it happen, they're here, they're right here, they're at my hand. So thanks so much, and please don't let us stop there.
Absolutely.
Well, I would the same basically a quick introduction. I was in Ukraine, owner and founder of a planting tree organization. It was stopped a little bit during this spring 22, but then we continued, and we're planting, and we are also collecting money for demining machines, because in some regions we can't plant because it's all mined, and it's a problem of all country. We have to demine forest fields and infrastructure for our kids and for us, of course. So this is our number one priority to, get at least one car done this year, but we see that it's quite hard. They're like $1 million cost. But as soon as we do, we hope to, to send an invoice. We hope you will send us an invoice, then we will be able to pay, so you can transfer us the machine to Ukraine.
Yeah.
That's what we are working on at the moment.
Yeah. So for those of you who haven't heard Oksana's story, she had to flee at the beginning of the war, 8 months pregnant, to Poland. So she's been there. And are you still in Poland, or are you somewhere different now?
No. We went to Spain, but then we were planning to move. Now we are planning to move elsewhere, because it's just we have to.
Yeah.
Just life makes us. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. But delivered a safe and beautiful baby. And they are doing well. And so, yeah, we donated. So they've been able to plant trees in Western Ukraine, and they're still doing some of that. Oksana and my boss, Enrique, were also the instigators of the famous children's letter writing campaign. So those of you know, over kind of the winter of last year, we collected over 2,200 letters written by children, for children and soldiers in Ukraine. And so Serve, Luke and his team, and then Oksana and her team, and some others have been, were able to distribute those for us. And so really fantastic. And that was a very touching initiative. Fred.
Yeah, I had mentioned your letter writing campaign, and that is something that I would like us to pick up in terms of this this mental health initiative that we're doing.
Yeah.
The Cathedral of St. Philip is one of our launch. We're a member there, one of our launch donors, if you will, and they have we have 3 Episcopal schools in Atlanta, plus there's a day school or preschool at the cathedral. And I mentioned that to the canon, and she really picked up on that. And I really want to get the kids that are in this mental health program connected up with kids over here, because kids are kids everywhere. And so if we can, and I will be a conduit as well to take letters directly into the safe space schools that we do. So maybe as you're planning that, or if we do plan to do that going forward, please keep us in mind for that, because again, I think that's a good way to connect these kids who are at risk with kids here.
100%, absolutely.
That actually would be really much better logistics if it goes from school to school and directly through your hands, because we were working mainly with volunteer hubs, and when it goes through adults who are busy with work, we noticed that it just was not as active, and we would struggle to get the feedback. We would struggle to find out where did it go. They did a lot of work, they distributed it, but it's just not that. If you are working directly with schools, that would be much more things. Just active, you know. They are busy with volunteering, shipping here and there, and like they don't. Sometimes they didn't understand just the meaning of the letter, because they get used to hands-on things all year long. And so like buy, deliver, get this, get that. They need like soldiers constantly writing, we need this, we need that. And when we come with such a social kind of campaign letters, they're like, what? Why? For what? So you are much closer to the topic, that you would be so much more helpful there.
That's awesome. Yeah, I think that's terrific. Yeah, in fact, somebody emailed me, I think maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, just found the letter writing campaign by Googling, and she was also in Georgia and was like, hey, can I have my students do this? I said, we'll take them at any time, please do. And so hopefully we'll be receiving more again soon. And so, yeah, I'll definitely be in touch about that. So thank you. Alisa is part of our team at Vector, works with several of our nonprofit clients and some other clients as well. So I think she's here to learn and is always willing to help. So thanks, Ellie, for being here. Let's see, I think I don't know about you guys, I just enjoy hearing everybody like just reintroduce themselves. I think that's fun, and just like hearing what everybody's still doing and working on, and it's always so encouraging, for sure. So does anybody have any questions, comments, anything like that before we wrap up today?
A few comments. I'll just reach out to you, Chrissy, to ask for the contact information. Fred, I'll reach out to you. I have a few questions. And Mark will reach out to you, maybe Daria or myself also, so we can kind of bounce some ideas internally and kind of go from there. And same goes for Vicky. I know she jumped off the call because if I start asking, it'll take us probably hours, and everybody probably has a busy day ahead of them. But it's a great pleasure to meet everybody, and thank you all very much for doing what you do. How I don't remember who it was who said it, but if you're familiar with the term 6 degrees of separation, you know, it's truly at work. I was attending a class here in Chicago once, and the lady jokingly said, I wrote this letter to Bill Gates, and we were like, did he respond? And she's like laughing, no, he didn't yet. And then the guy in our circle, oh, let me actually send an email because I know a guy who works with him directly. Yeah, I kid you not. And it was like, wow. I don't know if he had responded, yeah, but I need to check on that because it's a cool story. So you never really know. So
No,
thank
you
you all
never
very much. And Fred, yeah, prayers will go your way and your wife's way.
Yeah, and will remind me to, she's not on here, but, and Vicky mentioned UA Resistance. They're also outside of the consulate in Chicago as well. So if you don't know them, then we can certainly put you in touch with them too for another Chicago local connection as well.
Hey, I'm a Chicago boy. I born and bred there.
Got out of the winter. You
No,
left winter
I was
behind.
out in Glen Ellen, St. Charles. I'm down in Atlanta, and I think there's someone from Atlanta on here too. So there are
Yes,
a lot, lots of closeness in this group.
absolutely. Awesome. Well, thank you so much for your time, everybody. Appreciate you being here. We'll get it scheduled again for early December and kind of hear how the year end is going for everybody. Of course, all the time we have the WhatsApp group. So yeah, please invite anybody in there who's willing to help or just wants to stay abreast. I know it's active at sometimes and not, so please don't wait for me to start a conversation or make a comment. It's open to anybody at any time. So yeah, we're just here to help facilitate and connect. But thank you all for the good work that you're doing.
Thank you very much, guys. Much
Thank you all. See
appreciated.
you later. Bye
Good
now.
to
All
see
right,
you,
thank you.
everybody.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
so much.
Christy. Bye-bye.
Absolutely.